Hello, Jim here from Forage Box. Just come down to the space where I used to play as a kid. A bit of a trip down memory lane. In fact, just there, I've camped before when I was maybe 16, 17, maybe a little bit older. I can't really remember the exact thing. There's loads of trees that have sort of fallen and collapsed since I was here. This isn't a trip down memory lane. I've come down here because I know it's a really good place to come foraging. So I will be setting up. I'm going to have a little fire down here, leaving no trace, of course, to do some cooking. There's things like wild garlic and what else we got down here? Cow parsley. There's giant hogweed as well, so we'll have a look at that a little bit later on. But I just needed a day off, basically, to come and, you know, reconnect with nature. There is something to be said about getting outside and all that. There's plenty written about it. I just really like coming and doing this filming at the moment. It's one of the things that focuses my mind, and whilst it's not great to waggle a camera in your face all the time, I'll have plenty of time today to not do that. So I thought I'd bring you guys along. Better get cracking then. So I thought we'd just have a very quick look at all the things that we have got growing around here that will form some basis of our food. We've got cow parsley. Is that cow parsley? Yes, cow parsley here. Should be called wild chervil, really. It's got an amazing herby flavour. I don't really think of it as a parsley thing. It's a chervil one. It's a lovely, yeah, just a nice herby flavour. So that's going to go well into our food. There's also the classic. We've got wild garlic floating around as well. Can you see? This is wild garlic. I'm not going to pick any just yet because I want to be able to taste stuff later on. There's also ground elder, which is another umbellifer related to cow parsley. Hang on, let's hold it up. Maybe get to the ribbon. There we go. Can you see? Quite an easy one to ID, really. But that is, it's a sort of celery parsley flavour. We'll put a little bit of it in maybe just to complete the set, but not really after too much with that one. Whilst we're down here, there's also, hang on, there should be loads. There you go. Himalayan balsam. Himalayan balsam, an invasive species, along with giant hogweed and Japanese knotweed, which also grow down here very happily. This won't be going on a dish today, but it does act like bean sprouts at this stage. You can't eat it when it's a little bit older, but this is a really nice thing for chucking into stir fries and whatnot. Worth being careful of this plant. This is Lords and Ladies. You can see it's got these extra lobes at the bottom that should help you distinguish it from wild garlic, but they grow side by side. You've got to be really careful. This will give you a horrible burning sensation if you eat it, so well worth avoiding. We're not going to go into idea too much today. It's just a get stuck in. Similarly, we won't be eating the ivy. But I would like to find some giant hogweed to show you, so let's go and have a look and see if we can find any. I don't know if you can make out, but this is all giant hogweed on the far side of the river there. I think what's probably happened is it's been dug out on this side, because this is, you can see there's a footpath. Whereas over there is private farmland, and I suspect they just don't really bother, because people like that don't really bother. And here we go, giant hogweed. Not going to handle it too much, but one of the big differences between this and common hogweed, which is edible, is that the leaves are completely hairless. They have a shiny look to them as opposed to the matte finish from the hairiness of the common hogweed. And you can see it looks slightly more aggressive. It's an aggressive looking plant by comparison, quite sort of spiky and jagged. This can grow to about, I'm led to believe, about 5 meters tall. When it's at 5 meters tall, it's very distinct and obvious at that stage, but at this stage it could be easily confused with common hogweed. In terms of its contact, if you get the sap on your skin, it gives you a nasty condition called phytophotodermatitis, which is like nasty sunburn, chronic sunburn. So well worth avoiding, but if you just leave it well alone, you should be absolutely fine. We're going to hopefully pick some common hogweed if we can find some, because it's delicious and it'll go very well into the food that I'm going to cook. Anyway, probably now time to go and pick. I've got my little picking bag with me, so once we get closer to where we're set up, I'll start doing some picking. Mushrooms. These are scarlet elf cups, so called because they're scarlet. elf because things in the woods are all elfish, I guess. And then cup because you can see the cup shape. These only really grow in late winter, early spring, and they're very, very easy to ID. There's nothing you can confuse these with other than their namesake, ruby elf cups, which look exactly the same except for under a microscope. So we lump them all together because they're both edible. This is an edible mushroom. You can see I've got a couple here. They do get quite muddy, so I'll have to clean them up. But there's tons on the floor. So what I'll do now is I'll show you just how many there are and of me picking them, because these will be a nice mushroomy thing to put into our food. Not bad, eh? Again, they need a little bit of cleaning up just because of where we picked them from. And interestingly, or not interestingly necessarily, but habitat-wise, whilst they look like they're growing on the ground, they actually grow on wood. Can you see? So this is old willow. We're actually underneath an old willow tree, so as the branches are full on the floor, get nice and wet and soggy and start to rot away, these bad boys move in. And literally, they're growing on there. Now it tends to be that the bigger the stick, the more energy there is, and therefore the bigger the elf cups and the more elf cups there are, but there's so many little pockets of them along here that it really doesn't matter where you get them from. So here's wild garlic. Not a huge patch, so we're not going to take loads, but you see it kind of stretches up there, and actually I know this riverbank very well, there's loads of it, and all this sandy soil. This is just from where the river's burst its banks fairly recently. Now wild garlic, it's one of these ones that is potentially over-harvested by commercial pickers, but doing it responsibly leaf by leaf, as I'm doing here, is fine. And the idea of it is nice and easy. You can see as a leaf, it's about as leafy as you can get. Long, slender, no extra lobes. It's a hairless plant, and it grows in these clusters sort of on the woodland floor. But the biggest ID feature is give it a smell. If it smells like spring onions, garlic, leeks, all those things, and allium, then it's going to be an edible one, because there are no poisonous alliums in the UK. How about that? Flavour-wise, it's quite punchy, but nowhere near as punchy as bulb garlic or anything like this. And actually, a lot of mistakes are made by people digging up wild garlic thinking there's a bulb underneath. There isn't really. It's a bit like if you were to uproot a spring onion or something like this. All the edible stuff is happening above. And what we also have here, can you see, got these flowers. These are, well, the unopened flowers, the flower buds. These are really, really intense. This is one of the best bits of the plant. Really, really punchy. Fantastic thing. So I think I might end up picking a few of these buds just to throw into the mix as well. But leaf by leaf, this should be absolutely fine. I'm not going to take loads, it's only me today. Well, there we go. Bit of a stutter. Took quite a lot of puff in order to get it going, but you can see it's now going healthily. Got these bits of oak up here, very old oak. I'm just hopefully they'll dry out and slowly feed into the fire. Rolling down that hill, and I'm going to get things cooking on there shortly. But for now, I'm going to sit down in my hammock. So this is a new hammock, or an inherited one. Can you see just a net. I think you might call this a jungle hammock or a summer hammock. Oh, I'm getting smoked out here. It's a nice one. I've inherited off my grandpa, who sadly died a couple of years ago. He obviously doesn't want this hammock anymore. But it means I can come out here and keep my bum dry. Last time I had a hammock up in the woods was over winter. I didn't get to do a dangle cam, but if you're interested in a bit more of a chat about how things are in my life, self-indulgent chat, I'll be doing another dangle cam fairly soon. I'm just going to make sure that the fire is all going well so I can cook my tea, my lunch. So yeah, so I'll put a link to that somewhere else because I'll get that done shortly. So the pie is on. I'm blind baking a pastry case using pebbles and dock leaves. It's leftover pastry from some baking I had. Baking I did over the weekend. And I'm going to go make myself a brew whilst that's going for the next 15 minutes or so. Well, there we are. Burnt on the edge, but that's fine. That looks good to me. Time to get it out. Righto, cooking time. So, got all my lovely wild garlic here. You can see it's in good nick. I'm just gonna discard the ends because they're always a little bit muddy, and to be honest, I'm a bit gritted out. So, that'll do nicely to go in first. Don't need them to be in there too long, but nice and rough chopped, a bit like that will work very well. So you can see I've got those bits in there, and these bits as well. They can all get bundled in. It's not a very neat process, this. So that's going to go into our nice hot steaming pan. It really won't take long, so I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. So that's pretty good. There we go. And then now it's time to tidy up the elf cups. I'm not going to do too much videoing on that one, but you can see the underside, some of them are quite clean. Some of them are quite dirty, so I need to scrape all those off with my knife, but that's not really something to do on camera. Well, here we go. Cleaned up elf cups, bit of cow parsley, and this is very, very dense venison stock. You can see it's solidified, so it's a two-handed job, this one, and I'm holding the camera. So I'm going to pour this one in with this into the pan, cook down nicely in all those juices, and then we'll get assembling our pie. So it's been 10-15 minutes of cooking time. Here it is cooking away. So what I think we'll do is we'll have a quick look inside, see how it's getting on. Oh, it's slipped for starters. There we go. So you can see it's bubbling away in the bottom. The cheese is just about melted. Oh, the cheese is definitely melted. So I think we're probably good for serving. I don't want it to burn too much on the outside, you see. You see how it's crumbled a little bit. It's not going to be a very elegant eat, this one, I suspect, but it is going to be tasty. And one of my favourite seasonings, this is sea lettuce. It's a dried seaweed now. I picked it and dried it. It's got an amazing umami flavour, not dissimilar to Parmesan, I think. So complement that really nicely. And there we have it: Scarlet Elf Cut wild garlic cow parsley pie, sort of pie, cooked on my campfire, and now to be enjoyed in my hammock. Well, I can't put my camera anywhere, but I've got my spork and I'm just gonna dive in. Oh, so good. You can see the pastry. Flaky, crispy, or crunchy. Dripping with the venison stock as well, which is amazing. And there you have it. It's not a one-handed eat, this, so I'm going to put my camera down and I'm going to sit and enjoy it. Well, that was that, guys. Absolutely lovely lunch. I'm going to chill here for a little bit, but as I say, the fire's going out and I'm going to sit here in my hammock until it gets too cold, really. Thank you for watching. I'll finish, the final clip will be me leaving no trace. I'll make sure this is all gone. Yeah, just want to say thank you for watching. We've got plenty more videos. There's also a wild garlic video from 2 years ago, I think. Somewhere in here. Again, I'll put a link to that one as one of the last recommended videos at the end of the video. That one was me kayaking down this very river, capsizing several times, so making myself a nice stir fry, I think it was. I can't really remember. Anyway, So yeah, check out the stuff. We've got workshops and stuff happening all over the country now, all over the UK. So plenty to do. Head to foragebox.co.uk and you'll see some. Well, it's all very neat and organised on there, to be honest. So yeah. Next video will be sometime in April. I'm hoping it's going to be the start of the St. George's mushroom season, so we'll still end up with more mushrooms, but wait and see on that one. Anyway, cheers guys. There we go. Soil's a bit wet, but once it dries or everything gets wet, it'll all look exactly as it should. Leave no trace.